What's up, y'all?
Yo.
Clary, your hair looks really blonde.
Yeah.
Does, huh?
I go back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm excited to learn.
From who?
Ben, are you pulling out the first
From
day
everybody.
of school teacher BS on us?
How do you mean?
Who's excited to learn?
Oh, yeah.
Enthusiasm, baby.
Yeah.
My
I saw I guess a bunch of kids went back to school apparently the last couple of days. I've been seeing tons of this shit on the internet.
Yes.
Ours went back to school August 1st. It was so early.
Jeez.
that's horse shit. I'm just gonna say that.
That's cutting into a summer.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
went
it's
back.
hard.
Yeah, we went back that
Yeah.
we went back that early too, I think.
Really? We always went back at the
Fifth.
end of August.
I feel like we always started the weekend after Labor Day, like the first weekend of September.
That's what I started.
Starts.
Damn, dude.
We always started the week. I feel like I remember it being a pain because we would start like the week before Labor Day and then we would have a long weekend. And I remember teachers always being like, what's the point of starting this weekend? Because we are going to be off it's like you come after school for 3 days and then, or you'd start like Wednesday and then have 3-day weekend and then come back again. And it's like, whoop, whoop, hey Dan, good job.
Okay.
Ooh, Danny just got a sale.
Good job, Dan.
So Rob, listen to this. I had something just sort of fall in. So I was talking to a guy, had his demo on Monday, and he's like, yeah, so it all sounds great. I don't see why it wouldn't work. Send me over the contract and the payment form and then just 2 references. I'll be happy to move forward. I'm like, all right, so if I send you those references and the contract, then what happens next? And he's like, all right, well then I sign and become a client. And I said, great. So I'm freaking out to Allison. I'm like, God damn it, this shit again. And just like by magic, like 2 clients that I sold apparently are like super happy right now. And
By magic.
yeah.
Okay.
One just
That is
closed,
true.
Like a deal that basically like clears his thing. So I'm gonna reach out to those guys today. How should that conversation go? Hey, I heard you're killing it. By the way, I need you to speak with this dude because I have my go no go with them. I bought some time. I don't have it till like Monday of next week. So as long as I have shit, lined up before then, we should be good. But I don't know how that conversation should go.
The conversation with the references.
Yeah, like, hey, I want to reach out and be like, dude, I heard, our
Okay.
campaign smashing it. That's fucking awesome. But then how do I say, and by the way, we talked to this guy and tell him how great it is? Or do I have
Don't say fuck.
Yeah, you think?
Don't say fuck.
Okay.
Okay, it's interesting that you brought that up. Okay, because so today is everybody together. We're actually supposed to be doing some training, and this is actually one of the 2 things that I wanted to cover. And actually, the other thing is related to this. So, Carl, we'll get to that, but let me start from the beginning, if you don't mind.
Cool.
As far as references, you guys, why do they ask us for references?
Because they're scared and they don't believe.
Because
Or because they've always done it that way.
What was Claire's first thing?
Because they're scared.
They're scared.
Still.
What do you mean by scared?
Like they don't believe, like they're still being cautious that they don't believe that we can do what we're saying.
Okay. Dan, what was that?
They've always done it that way.
A lot of businesses ask them to do the same.
Oh, because that's how their clients buy from them?
Yep.
That's a pretty fucking good one. Pardon my language. That's a pretty good one that I actually wasn't going to think of today. That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
That's good. That's good. Out of the they don't believe because that's how people buy them, and because that's how they've always done it.
They're pushing us off for more time.
Okay, so out of those three, what's the number one out of those three?
scared.
The choices are don't believe, that's how their clients buy them, and they've always done it that way.
Don't believe.
Probably
says-
don't believe, right?
Yeah. Anyone
I'm gonna
else?
say always done it that way.
Dan says always done it that way.
Rob, let Jeff in. Oh, he's in.
He is in. He said they don't believe.
Right.
Think about it. If they believed that if they hired Link Selling or EDG and they got 10 to 15 leads with their ideal prospects as defined by them, it doesn't matter how they've always done it. It doesn't matter that that's how their prospects by them and that's their paradigm. If they believed, it fixes all that other shit. So here's the thing about like Carl, this guy that we're going to talk about here and maybe even role play through, like when he told you all that stuff and give me references, like what's happening and what happens in between your ears in that moment?
Panic. Because I'm like, fuck, another one of the, or sorry, I keep saying the F word. I'm
You can
like,
say the F word to us, just don't say it to the prospects, I think was Dan's point.
Shucks. Another guy that I feel like was going to be a layup, and then there's this bridge right at the end before.
Okay, that's good. So at least you're saying references equates resistance, right?
Right.
Okay, good. Anybody else think something different or?
I just think I hate you so much.
Same. I always, in my head, I think. That's what I think. Like,
Man, really?
Yeah, no, literally, that's exactly what I think.
Emotional involvement much?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
He says, yes, I don't care. I have awareness and I don't care. All right, cool. So as long as we know that references isn't just an okay neutral box that we check and we go, oh, this is resistance or this is bullshit, that's a start. So everybody on the call, if you disagree with me here, fundamentally, you got to speak up now because this has to be fundamental to our process. That when someone says, hey, I want a reference, we say, that sounds a lot like resistance or that sounds like an objection. Like whatever's going on in between your ears has to be, this is wrong. Something's wrong. So if you disagree with that, you got to speak up now because I got to get you on that page or you're going to do this wrong, in my opinion, in the future. Ben says, I agree. And
I agree.
Typed out the F word. All right. So good. So references is bad. A thing, demonstrative of resistance or putting us off. That kind of stuff. So, Carl, what did you do in the moment there? He said, let me get you some references. And you said, okay.
I used the perfect what happens after you speak to those references because
okay.
They're not going to have anything but great things to say. And he goes, obviously, I know that. He goes, he says, that's exactly what I want to hear. Say, well, they're not going to say anything but perfect things about us. He goes, yeah, I know. That's exactly what I want to hear.
Okay. And then you let him get off the phone and let's set up the references. Okay.
Yep.
Here's the problem though, is that I would be okay with that approach if that approach was working for us.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. What happens instead?
We need to get the references, and if they come through.
No. When we take this approach, what happens to us?
I feel like we almost become defensive.
No, in the end, when we've executed this system that you're executing right now, what normally happens?
We end up having to get them the references.
Yeah, but even once they get the references, what happens?
Not everybody who gets a reference.
Yeah, a lot of them still walk away in the end, even though they're saying, I'll say yes.
That's what they say, exactly.
Got it. Yes. So even when, so that's how you know that maybe a different approach, right? Because that approach right now is yielding us some negative results in the end. So I want to add, before you do, so what you just did there was post sell. So before we get to post sell, if we put something else in there if we tried to qualify them before they qualified to continue into our process and do post sell, you guys, how would we qualify them at this moment? Like what's another piece, what's another step that we put in place here? What should we do? Hey, everything looks good. Claire, just get me references and we'll be good to go. Okay, so before we go to post sell, what could we do instead?
I think the answer is obviously continue to ask questions, but I don't know what the movement's there.
Maybe like, can you let me know what you'd like to talk to the reference about, and that way I can prepare them properly, or I can get you set up with the right person.
So somebody is. Our sense is that they're misrepresenting how positive they are, right?
Negative reverse.
Yeah. So this guy says, "Just show me this, and I'm there." I'm an 8 out of 10, Carl. Our sense is that he's misrepresenting how positive he is. Our sense is maybe he's looking at other vendors behind our back. Our sense is maybe he's going to choose apathy or doing nothing, right? Because that's what's happened to us in the past. So that's what we're sensing. So when we don't really know where someone is.
Get their temperature.
Is that Jeff? Jeff, I muted you because it was like a lot of noise, dude. Sounds like you're walking through a haunted house or something. Breathing heavy while you're doing it. The way that we test somebody's positivity, Lucy said it, is negative reverse. So I'm gonna take your temperature by going just left of where you are. Also, you can mix in. There's my biggest fear move, right? So Carl has this collection of people who have said, give me a reference and we're good. And then they get a reference and they tell us no anyway. Right. So that's my biggest fear is I get you a reference. They say everything checks out and you tell us no anyway. I wouldn't do that to you, really, because it happens all the time. You wouldn't believe it.
Do you literally say my biggest fear?
I mean, so that's what Sandler calls it, is it's my biggest fear move. I don't ever literally say my biggest fear. How it sounds coming out of my mouth is, here's what I'm afraid of. That's what it sounds like. So I don't care how it sounds coming out of your mouth, what words you use. Mine is, here's what I'm afraid of, Claire. So however you want to say that.
Is the negative reverse the, hey, 9 times out of 10 somebody tells me that they need references, what that actually means is that they're not interested?
That's a flavor of negative reversing. Yeah. So this guy, negative reverse is any time that you go to the negative side of where they're at. So he goes, hey, we're all good. Just give me references and I'm in. So anything to the negative side of that. However, if it's a single question, if it's a story, if it's a typically this means this, anything to the negative side of that is a negative reverse. So that's a pretty good one. Hey, Carl, hey, I appreciate that. Happy to give you references. But oftentimes when I hear that, what it really means is whatever.
And so we're still getting to the point, because if they're either going to say, yeah, you're right, sorry, or they're going to say, no, that's not me. I'll sign a deal as soon as I get them. So we're still having to get the references then, but then the ultimate goal is that even if we are getting them the references, that 100% of those people are closing.
Yes, that's what it should be.
Okay.
If we're investing time, energy, and effort in references,
there needs to be $1.
Yeah, and I think we should negative reverse, and they go, no, you're wrong, I'm in, and then I think we should even challenge more. I mean, I think that there should be even.
So what do you say after that? How do I know that you're in, or?
No, it's like in my world, it's like, here's the problem, Carl, is that, man, my clients are CEOs, man. They can't take time out of their day to sell me to you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like I push back on the. I've only given references twice in the last 2 years.
Right.
I push back on the very notion of this is not something that I do. This is not something that I'm comfortable with.
So
And I'm not saying you guys have to.
Is that the standpoint that we should take, or should we?
I think that's up in the air. I don't. I think that's up in the air.
I've said that
Go one way or the other. It's either going to get people to say, all right, I believe in this, let's go, or it's going to kill deals. So I don't know. How often does that happen in your world?
Hang on. Go, Claire.
I've said that a few times because I know that you've taught that taught that to us multiple times, Rob. And I think that where I get hung up on that, like when I say it, I get a lot of pushback with it because I'm talking to a CEO also, and they typically say to me, well, I have clients that ask me to get on the phone with, or I have like customers that ask me to get in, and I'm happy. If a company's doing great for me, I'm happy to get on the phone and talk and sing their praises. So like, why aren't your clients like that? And so then I have to rely on like, well, we have a sales team of like 20 people. And if all of our sales team are putting our clients on the phone and blah, blah, blah to selling them, so it's like, I kind of back myself into a corner when I'm talking to the person that I'm saying that doesn't want to get on the phone.
If you want to open the door, I'm just going to post. So if they go, I do that all the time, blah, 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 blah. I very forcefully will just post sell the shit out of it. I've closed 2 deals on references this year. The one I didn't post sell because I was sort of sick of the guy and I didn't give a shit if he said yes or no. So I said, that's fine. Here's someone you can talk to. And he came back. The other one I really did care about, he was just super absurdly high S. And I was like, you are going to talk to Ryan. He is literally going to tell you these things. This. So once you talk to him and he literally tells you those things that I told you he's going to tell you, that means that you'll get to a place that you're not that you're not now. And that place is, Rob, we're doing business. Here's my deposit. Rob, you're booking a flight. And he was like, yep, that's where I am. And I was like, okay, but that's exactly what happened. But I mean, post-sell, it's almost like he's a 5th grader. How bad do you have to post-sell?
You have to break it down and say.
Because if we back all the way up to the beginning, to the top of the, not the top of the hour, but the top of this meeting, Carl, the example that you gave us even had some wishy-washy stuff in it. Like the guy said, I'm pretty much in or something. There was some wishy-washy language that you used.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to get through all that, just brutally post-sell the shit out of all of it. So there's no holes in the, because it's almost ridiculous. It's like, it's almost ridiculous. So Claire, so you're saying if you call 2 of my best clients and they're going to tell you only great things, like we know that this is what they're going to tell you about me. You're saying as long as that happens, you're signing up, and signing up means this and this and this. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. And there's like literally nothing that can prevent you or anything else that could possibly get in the way. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We get in trouble because we just don't post sell that hard.
I know, because I've gotten burned on it where somebody says, yeah, all I need is a couple references and we're good to go. And I say, all right, well, that sounds good. But I don't like make a very clear line in the sand that this is exactly what happens.
We've talked about this before. I've mentioned it a couple times. Rob, I'm curious on your take on this. What do we feel about saying, cool, there's a big responsibility in giving a reference. Obviously, when you become a client, you don't want us pestering you to talk to, like Claire said, we got 20 salespeople, 10 calls a day for each salesperson. The numbers add up. You don't want us pestering you with people to sell our services on. So I need you to meet me halfway and put down a deposit. And if you don't like what you hear from the person, then I'll give you the deposit back. Maybe it's not that wordy and we just say like, yeah, cool. If you put down a deposit, then I know you're serious about this and I'll get you the referral. You can go talk to him, or the reference, you go talk to him. And if you don't like it, I'll give you the money back.
Here's what I would rather do, but you tell me, you guys.
Okay.
Because you live in the world where you're selling all day and I don't. I know a decent amount about the company, right? But I just don't sit there and do it all day. I would prefer hey, Rob, I need references, post sell. Okay, Ben, here's the thing though, man. The clients that you want to talk to, they're CEOs and they're busy. You might have to deal with leaving them a voicemail and them leaving you a voicemail in return. Like where you leave questions on their voicemail and they answer them on your voicemail. Because you're busy, they're busy. Are you cool with that? Because what I want to do is it's Tuesday. You call them by tomorrow, they'll call you back by Thursday, and you and I are talking again on Friday. Like I want to clear next step and specify the timelines.
So is that almost like the standard operating procedures where you set it up? Oh, great. So the way this is going to work is the only way this is going to work is you're going to leave the voicemail with a couple questions that you have. They'll leave another one, and then we'll talk the day after.
That's not the way it's going to work, but that's minimal. Like that's a minimal acceptable scenario that you have to deal with. You have to deal with that. You can't tell, like, they can't say, no, I won't do that. Well, you might have to deal with that.
Right.
You know, what if the reference, I mean, like my calendar this week has no, I mean, what if their calendar has no open time? They can't call you back.
Right.
You're not going to be their number one priority.
Right.
Which is leave you voicemail at 9 p.m. All right, let's do, I'm going to do one piece of content, and then I think we should role play some of this actually. And this is actually relevant. You guys see my screen here?
Yep.
I'm zoomed in on sales posturing.
Mm-hmm.
This is relevant to the topic because in the midst of all this reference talk here, I don't want us to forget that someone asking for a reference is the end result of us not being effective enough in the first probably 15 minutes of the call. So we could role play through references, get better at that conversation, agree to a process, maybe we collect a deposit, but at the end of the day, the cure for that is not getting better at the reference conversation, getting less people to ask us for references because we're so much better in the first 15 minutes. And so here's something that I don't talk enough about. I don't think anyone talks enough about that we've maybe never even addressed specifically. That is a big time. Once you get past all the simple stuff, a big time differentiator from really effective salespeople who can close a lot of deals and people that are a little less effective is sales posturing. And sales posturing is basically every single conversation that you guys have with new prospects, if I did the Zach Morris timeout where I could pause time 120 seconds into your conversation, how does your prospect feel about you? 120 seconds into your conversation, do they go, holy shit, this person is strong, I will follow this person, they know what they're talking about, I've got a ton of confidence in this person, or are they still trying to figure out if they should trust you, if they like you, if your value prop's going to be any good? About 120 seconds in is what it takes for posturing to show itself. So that's the heart of what sales posturing is. And here's the breakdown. And I just gave you guys, this is an example of somebody who I actually haven't started working with yet. I don't know him yet, but he has poor posture, but I just wanted to pick one that I could show you the breakdown of. So how's your self-image? If you are always an I-10 and you're always feeling like an I-10, your prospects have no choice but to feel that about you as well. If you just always feel great about yourself. So speed to rapport. You guys, what is the number one how do I want to ask this question? Like predictive, like what's the skill set that you have, or the piece of training that you can use the most that I've taught you that is like most predictive of your speed to rapport? Like how do you get to rapport the fastest?
Mirroring
What? Claire?
mirroring their mirroring them, like tone, speed.
Yeah. Match mirror. Dan?
Paying attention to disc.
Yeah. And disc is how you figure out how to match a mirror. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Lucy, I think you left and I just am now seeing you coming back. So speed to rapport, disc. Can you match and mirror? And what's your disc agility? Like something, frankly, that I have gotten that I used to be awful at. So I'm not trying to brag, but that I've gotten a lot better at is disc agility to S's. So like I don't have to destroy my rapport with an S before I used to have to, like, the first 4 minutes was very awkward, and then I had to spend the next 50 minutes fixing it. But I can actually match and mirror an S now in 90 seconds, 120 seconds. So like what's your agility to all the quadrants off of disc? And remember, the polar opposite quadrant from you is going to be the most difficult one for you to deal with. So if you're an I, you're going to struggle the most with C's. If you're a D, you struggle with S's. If you're an S, you'll struggle the most with D's. But what's your agility? Can you be agile enough with your disc and your matching and mirroring that you can get across that in 120 seconds? Sales optimism. So what is your expected outcome when you show up to calls? Do you show up to every call just, we still have to qualify and things, but do you show up to every call just expecting the person to be a good prospect and expecting them to buy, or do we expect the opposite? Because that shows up in the first 3, 4, 5 minutes of the conversation, and your tonality. And I know that a lot of times body language isn't going to come across on the phone, but your body language will come across in your voice. So what is your how do you feel about the prospect that you don't know? Your assertiveness will, it's part of its equal business nature. Will you plant your feet? Will you set up in passes in the conversation? Are you comfortable disqualifying people? All of that stuff. Do they tell you what to do, or are you on equal business nature? Do you occasionally tell them what to do? So there's two different types of empathy. There is sales empathy that we need, and then there's sales empathy that's bad. So bad sales empathy would be if they say, hey, Carl, let me get a couple of references and we're in good shape. And we go, perfect, happy to do it, right? I empathize with your position that you want references to buy me. That's bad empathy. We know that references is a warning sign. So that's an example of like a bad empathy that we don't. Or if they say, I think we're in good shape. Let me just think about it for a couple of days. And we go, perfect. I would think it over too, right? That's an example of an empathetic response to a prospect that's actually negative. That's going to hurt us. Appropriate amount of patience. So patience is a spectrum. You have too little patience. An example of too little patience that we've hit on so far in this conversation today would be when they say, let me get references, and we, instead of finding a way to deal with that, we get pissed and emotionally involved. That would be too little patience. Too much patience would be if they're hemming and hawing and putting off the conversation. Like one thing that I've tried to clarify personally in the way that I sell in the last couple months is prospects, especially bigger type deals, bigger type opportunities, if they're sort of dragging their ass with the timeline, like what's my timeline for negative reversing or taking it away, or telling them, hey, if it's this hard to get together, maybe it's not a fit. So the not being too impatient, not being too patient. Building trust, listening over talking. So being on the right side of 70-30, even in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the conversation, and then having a healthy amount of skepticism. So any kind of wishy-washiness that they give us should set off red flags, and we should ask them questions. You guys are mostly pretty good at being skeptical. So posturing makes sense, you guys?
Yep.
One of the, especially selling on the phone, big time predictor of who closes deals, who closes the most deals, who closes the least amount of deals is sales posture. All right, cool.
Hey, Rob, can I add something to this that I feel I've covered it with a couple people over the past week, this idea that You know, like for instance, rocket launch people, they will get to a point in the call where they drop the price and then they hear this response. Oh. And then people get it in their mind like, oh, well, that's it. No sale there. Can't get past that. You know, and it's an example of, I feel like if all of a sudden you assign an outcome to a bump in the road, you're shooting yourself in the foot instead of saying, I expected this bump and I've got to move to get around it, because I almost
That's good.
yeah, I want to hit the bump in the road, right? Because the bump in the road is what's part of the path that gets me to the sale. But I don't. If I start saying, okay, in my mind, when I hear I want references, that means the sale is gone and this whole conversation is in the shitter now. That's probably how it will play out, instead of just saying, yep, I expected that. I deal with this bump all the time.
I like that idea too. That's a good way to think about it.
Because I'm not like on the, and again, I mean, I take calls on both sides. I've taken more rocket launch ones recently. And so I've covered with some of the reps, you know, when you're dropping the price, and there's usually the most resistance there. And people think, well, I should drop the price and everybody will say, hell yeah, I want to do it. But that is a pretty rare situation, you know? I just feel like that's what you're going to encounter. And that's not a problem. It's part of the path to getting to the sale. So just wanted to throw that in there. The mindset that's around.
And something we should have awareness of, that we should always be working on, is emotional involvement in the outcome. So if you're towards the end of a sale and you think, oh, they're about to close, and we have emotional involvement around the outcome, that's when I need references is going to piss you off. If you have emotional neutrality for the outcome and you're just trying to execute the process, them saying, I want references, won't piss you off because you're not emotionally involved. And I know that's way, 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 way easier said than done. But that emotional neutrality to outcomes is
I think that's a good rule in life too. I mean, just not like showing up for the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
As opposed to clinging to control, because we don't have control.
Yeah. Yeah. So my my affirmation is, I'm addicted to the process, not the outcome. You know, that's my how I could get, let me just do everything the right way. The outcomes will take care of themselves. So we get pissy at the end because we have emotional involvement in the outcome, and we just can't ever do that. It'll hurt you way more than it'll help. Okay, cool. Let's Ben, what do you think? What is I know at one point in time we had said we won't even give out references. What's the president's stance on this? Because I don't want to role play it if we're gonna not, you know what I mean, if we're gonna do something different.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll buy into your side of it, which is, I feel like, will there be some sales that we get because of references? Yes. Like Rob said, he had 2 sales this year where he gave references. But I doubt very seriously that 50% of Rob's sales he had to give references for. And
yeah, or sales that we'll lose because we're not willing to give references. Like I've lost a couple where I was just like, nope, don't believe you.
Yeah.
Do you think you lost them though, or do you think that they were gone already? You just figured it out?
I don't know. That's a hard question to answer, because there are some that are like your high S person that you're like, hey, this is exactly what's going to happen, and you do it and they close. So I don't know. That's a hard question.
That's why, Rob, I thought about the deposit play. I want to honor what we're doing here, because I do agree that our work around this topic can help us improve. And I think that there are times, like Dan, to hear what you're saying, where once someone brings up the reference to you, you know, you had mentioned this feeling that you get inside, which maybe prejudges the conversation, which is already like, well, the whole thing's fucked. It's all terrible. And instead
or
of
I don't believe you. Like when
Yeah,
they
for
say they're
sure.
going to make a decision based on it, like we've all connected somebody with a reference before that didn't buy, and that is infuriating. It's like
Right.
so frustrating.
Which maybe speaks back to Rob's point of we should be digging in more. It's almost like, I don't know, Rob, you can call me out if you think this is the wrong process. But my thought is if we give, 100%, more like 120% out of 100% of combating the reference thing, and there's a person who were to get through who needed one, I would consider it. But what I don't want to get in the habit of doing is someone says, yeah, references. And we're like, good, I can send you 3 tomorrow. Let's go, because we already know we don't. That doesn't close it. That's the thing. I want to know how legit they are. That's what I want to figure out how to do. Because the reference doesn't always get the issue. That's a really long-winded answer to your question, Rob.
Okay. Who can be salesperson and who can be prospect?
I'll do one. I don't care.
I'll volunteer for whatever you need.
I'll
Okay.
volunteer.
Claire be salesperson, Carl be prospect. Carl is legitimately, Carl, your mindset, you are legitimately close.
Mm-hmm.
You believe that references are the right way to, you're not quite there yet, and you do believe that references will help you get there, and it's legit. So you're not full of shit here. You're Claire, you're a salesperson. Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Carl. So at this time, typically when, we get to this point in the presentation, we figure out, what are our next steps? Do you want to move forward? Do you feel like it's a comfortable move for you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, so everything looks great. I feel like it's a good fit.
I can't hear you very well. Okay, go ahead.
So I feel like it's a good fit. Everything you did here looks great, Claire. I just, I could use a little extra clarification. So if you can get me a couple people that you've knocked it out of the park for, I feel like that's really what would get me across the finish line.
Okay, Carl, I appreciate that. Thanks for kind of painting that picture as to what your thoughts are. Is there any kind of clarification that I can work with you to provide prior to getting you on the phone with a reference? I really want to make sure that if you talk to somebody that it's at the very last stage of the process, but I can address everything that you need to talk about first.
Right. Like
Time out. Claire, be more assertive than that.
No, bitch. No, I'm just kidding. No, not you, Carl.
Be more assertive than that.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think? What do you think we could do? If we were more assertive there, what do you think that would be like?
Okay, Carl, I appreciate you asking that, or you being transparent about what your thoughts are. I guess I could go into here's what I'm afraid of, Carl. Let me just be totally transparent with you also, since we're being candid back and forth here. Typically, if I appreciate that you want to talk to a reference, but I'm a little nervous that, you get on the phone with a reference and they tell you all the things that you want to hear. They sing our praises, and then, you're still kind of on the fence, or you haven't really had your concerns addressed yet by them. So I'd like to be able to to dig into that now versus down the road, or kind of have you still wondering a week from now.
Yeah, no. Like I said, Claire, I believe in the process. I think it makes sense. I just want to talk to someone who, it's actually worked for in real life.
Okay, so time out, Claire. So I think you have 2 choices here. You could do let's pretend. So let's pretend, Carl, that I provide, and you don't have to use let's pretend, that's just what it's called, right? Let's pretend that I provide references. Let's pretend you call them. Let's pretend they tell you these things. What would happen next? Or you could do let's pretend, and you could get a little negative. So let's pretend. Is that really, so you're saying if that happened, then all of a sudden now you're convinced that this is going to work for you? So you could do negative. The other thing, I forget what my other piece was. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you though, the guy that Carl is playing right now, he's a little less there than I envisioned it when I assigned the role. He's a little less there.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind negative reversing him and telling me he's not ready for references.
Hey, Rob, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Understanding that Carl is the person who you just said he was, what do you think of asking the question, so what are you hoping to hear from the reference?
Yeah.
Because I'm also wondering if I can combat it. Tell me if this is wrong. If I can combat it with just a shit ton of social cred and testimonials that we have on file.
Well, I would actually, Ben, so I like your strategy, but I like it for a different reason.
Sure.
So what are you hoping to hear from the reference? Well, I'm hoping that they tell me this, this, this. Okay, so you don't think those three things right now? You know what I mean? Now I'm into what I hope to hear from the reference is the space between where I am right now and where I'd be if I was closed. And so now I've got you characterizing the space. So now let's talk about why you're not closed yet.
So like the person's going to say, oh, I'm hoping that they're just going to say you're legit and that you guys know how to do this work. And then you're going to come back and say, so right now you don't think we're legit and that we know how to do this work. Is that correct?
Yeah, in a nurturing way. In a better,
Sure.
I would have to be more nurturing than that, but yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You say I'm not legit? Yach.
I think that Dan, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think Allison said that you do something to the tone of, or like people that have been like, oh yeah, I need a reference and then I'm good to go. It's like, all right, well, if I get you those references, then do we have, assigned on the dotted line contract by X day?
Yeah, another thing I've tried too is, this has worked a couple times. When they say I need a reference, I say, of course, glad to do that. And then I send over a link to a video testimonial.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. That did work?
It's worked twice, and I was just baffled, but it worked.
Twice out of how many?
Probably like 10.
Okay.
Not the best odds,
That's not
but
zero.
it's just, sometimes it just makes you laugh if shit like that works.
All right, let's go back and let's make
Sorry.
clear. Take a stand, negative reverse this guy, and call him out. See what that sounds like.
Oh goodness. Okay. So Carl, can you start again? Can you say your response?
Yeah, so I just need to hear, like a real life example, talk to somebody who, this has actually worked for.
Okay. So I can say about, so what am I doing? Negative reversing completely, or am I?
Yeah, I want you to push back on the, so from the mindset of he's not there yet, references aren't going to help him, because that's where I feel this guy is.
Okay.
However you want to push back on him, whatever technique or style or whatever you want to use, I want to push back.
Okay.
Plant my feet.
Okay, Carl. So I appreciate you kind of being transparent about that with me. Can we dig in a little bit deeper into what your
Can you not say that, because that sounds sort of salesy?
sorry.
Dig in a little deeper. Just ask a question.
Okay, so I'm happy to, I always say I'm happy to get you references.
That's fine. That's fine.
But
So
I
let's
feel
go.
like,
That's the bad empathy. It's like, yeah, I'm glad to get you references.
Yeah, but then you don't really mean it. You don't really like empathy is what's happening in between your ears. It's called meet him where he is, right? So we don't actually mean it. Hey, I want references. Happy to do that. Here's the issue. So
Okay.
happy to do that. Chills him out. I meet him where he is. Happy to do that, but can I share with you the issue, Carl? Can I tell you what my problem is? Yeah. Then push back.
Okay, I feel better now. I was like really
That's
stuck.
fine. That's fine.
I was like, if I can't say that, I don't know what.
It's called meeting where they are. Hey, so I just it's like if you did a contract and someone goes, I just need you to tell me everything about link selling, and then I'll decide if I want it. You go, perfect. Let's do that. But first, tell me why we're taking this call. Like you say, yes, I agree with you, but that's not what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Carl. Yeah. So absolutely, I'm happy to get you a reference. So let's just say I get you in touch with, the 2 references that you asked for, which I will work on. But I want to kind of discuss, if that happens and you talk to somebody.
No, you're not going to do the references, right? We're going to plant our feet and take a stand and say references aren't going to help you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we said.
Right.
Okay, so.
We're going to negative reverse or say references won't help you. We're going to plant our feet, take a stand on that.
Okay. So, sure, Carl, happy to do that. The thing that I'm concerned about is if you don't feel 100% confident in what we're offering now, then I don't know that my reference is going to help you get to where you need to be in order to feel confident in what we're gonna do for you. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, Claire, I told you I'm confident in the process. I think it'll work. I just want to see and speak to a real guy that it's actually worked for.
I don't know what to do now.
You could go and post sell them. You could go the post sell route. So you planted your feet. Hey,
Okay.
Carl, here's the thing. I don't think references will help you. No, they will. Right? You could plant your feet, ask them again, or now you could go to post sell if you want.
Okay. Okay, Carl. I am happy to do that for you. So let's discuss kind of, okay, so I'm going to get you on the phone with a couple people that can talk to you about, their experience with link selling. Let's say you talk to them tomorrow. So are we reconnecting then again on Wednesday to discuss what our next are to, get the contract signed and move forward? What are your thoughts on the next steps then?
Yeah, we could, once I talk to them, and they say that you guys are the best, then we can figure something out after that.
Okay.
What about this, Claire? And what about this? So sales posturing, one of the bullets was healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
What would like a dose of real healthy skepticism sound like? So Carl, happy to give you references, man. Thanks for asking. Here's the problem. Like, is that you talk to, because who do you think I'm going to connect you to?
Well, hopefully somebody who has the same business as me.
Yeah, but good clients or bad clients?
Yeah, good guys.
Right. So what do you think they're going to tell you?
Hopefully that you guys knocked it out of the park.
Not hopefully. That's what they're going to tell you.
Okay.
Fair?
Yeah.
So talking to 2 of my best clients and hearing those is that really going to get you to where you need to be, to where you ink a deal, we kick off, start getting you leads? Is that really it?
Yeah, Rob, that's just, it's how we sort of have always done things when we're going out and get vendors. So I'm sure you guys are great. I just want to hear from those guys and so that we can move forward in the process.
So, but I appreciate that that's your process and everything. But you're telling me that your thoughts, feelings, understandings, belief of my and EDG's ability to help you, that talking to a couple people who we've helped or who we're currently helping, that's the only thing that closes the gap between where you are today and you being a client and us kicking off and getting you leads?
Ooh. Yeah, I guess there's not really anything else that I need to hear besides that.
Okay. So now I could go to Let's Pretend.
Okay.
But
I just feel like that's so, it feels so, I guess I just have to be more gutsy, but it just feels so combative. Yeah. Like that feels so very uncomfortably combative for,
really?
Yeah.
Really?
And I mean, I think it sounds great coming out of your mouth. It feels like, I feel like maybe because I've only tried to keep going maybe, a handful of times when that happens, but it just feels so like, I feel like I'm being so like, well, I guess like the word is combative, but I guess that's all in my head.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Hey, Rob, can I give you a quick example to hear how you'd role play another combative situation?
Yeah, hang on one second. Hang on one second though. here's the thing. So
'Cause I'm kind of with Claire on this.
hang on
a
one
little
second.
bit.
This guy that Carl showed up as,
Hmm.
if this was reality and this wasn't Carl playing a character, very likely he would have said, "You're right. Here's an issue," and I would have gotten new information.
Right.
When I'm beating his ass like that in a nurturing way, I probably would have gotten new information. He played the no references will get me there. Chances are the guy would have said, "You know what? You're right. Here's
Yeah.
something that concerns me," and I would have gotten new information to sell into. Very likely. The
Maybe.
guy that sounds like how Carl sounds.
Mhm.
Go, but Dan, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I mean, just to kind of drive home the point of combative versus just like a healthy skepticism. I've had somebody show up to your decision call twice now and say that they just haven't had time to talk to their business partner yet. Right?
Mhm.
So obviously, the question here is why not? Is this not a priority?
Mhm.
Right? So, Rob, I'd love to hear how you respond to somebody just showed up to the decision call and said, "Oh man, I still haven't found time to talk to him about it yet, but we're going to. Let's push this to next week."
Wait, Dan, are you saying still haven't found time to talk to the reference or to their business partner?
No. This is just another example of how would you handle this and not sound combative to their business partner, not a reference.
I would do exactly what you just said. What'd you just say?
Right.
Not a priority?
Something effective like, well, I really don't want to continue to bother you. It sounds like this might not be a priority.
Yeah, so you got to nurture a little more than that. I see what you're saying. Okay, so
Yeah.
Dan, you're prospect and I'm salesperson?
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Rob. Oh, yeah. I know we already pushed this time once. My business partner, he works out of Houston. He hasn't been in the office much. He just got here today. We haven't had time to talk about it.
Okay. So what would you like to do?
Why don't we push this out to next or Friday? No, let's go with Monday.
Okay, perfect. Happy to. Right. Let me meet you where you are. Happy to. Perfect. Dan, can I sort of push back on you a little bit? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's okay.
Sort of a tough question. Oftentimes when this happens, because if you remember our conversation on Thursday, pain recap, you were telling me pain, impact, commitment, pain, impact, thing you tried to do that didn't work, recap. And at that point in time, this seemed important and just, I guess, Dan, 9 times out of 10, when momentum slows down, the conversation between you and your partner isn't prioritized because the initiative isn't prioritized. And what typically happens from here is we fade away into status quo, into doing nothing. And it's not that you guys ever decide to do nothing. You just decide not to make a decision. And that sort of feels like the path that we're on. Is that fair? Does that make sense?
No, I just haven't had time yet. We're going to make time.
Okay. So we'll schedule a time to talk on Monday, and barring tsunami, Godzilla attacks the West Coast, we'll have that conversation that we were going to have today, only on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Perfect. I got 2:30 open. How's that work for you?
How about 2?
So the guy that Dan was just playing probably would also have given me new information, I think, at that juncture. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
If I go, hey, typically when we got to slow down on momentum, what's going to happen here is you guys are going to push this off into the sunset, and maybe you never decide not to do it, but you decide to not decide. Is that fair? Like a lot of times they'll go, because it's like, dude, when was the last time that you did not have more shit on your plate than you had time to deal with? Like never. So all of a sudden, I mean, you're going to continue to find things to put on your to-do list above this.
Would you push
Yeah.
there, Rob, to say, well, hey, I can help create some time. Why don't you just bring that partner to our conversation on Monday?
Yeah, I mean, we're sort of past that, but that's interesting, like why the partner hasn't been involved yet.
And also, I'll give you a worksheet of a dialogue that'll teach you how to have a conversation with your partner.
What?
Basically, you can tell them exactly what to say in that conversation.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's being an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, I would go, hey, man, it sounds like maybe this just isn't a priority. I don't know what the guy's going to say. I got a feeling that it's not going to be good, but I got a call put on my calendar for Friday for a prospect that was sort of ignoring me into oblivion. And I just said, hey, I just left you a message. It's totally okay. And this is a guy I've even done some business with in the past with one of his other companies. It's totally okay if you don't want me involved or don't think I can help your business. I'm okay with that, and it's not personal. Maybe that's the real reason why you're unable to prioritize our conversation, ? But if you're still open to just an exploratory convo, no commitment implied, let me know. But it's I think that you're not prioritizing this on purpose because it's not important. Fair?
When I usually let my guard down like that is when I get like the most, not positive, but just get the most responses in general. Like people that I've been like, hey, what's going on, man? Once I say like, dude, I don't care what's going on one way or another. If this isn't for you, just let me know so I can quit bothering you. Everybody's like, oh yeah, by the way.
Yeah, it's a little negative reverse. It's disarming honesty. It's a lot of things working out. I'm like, this is probably, and he's one of them dudes where I wouldn't be surprised if he just some people enjoy the chaos and actually don't want to put the fire out. And I could get not hired because they don't want me to put the fire out because the chaos makes them feel important.
Mm-hmm.
Like this sick sadism thing. And he might be one of those people. I don't know.
Like Munchausen's, but for your business.
Yeah. So
also, I wanted to say one thing too. Sometimes I'll on the if I'm scheduling an overview, I'll just, if I know they have a partner, I'll just ask them for their partner's email address because I can add, and I'll just say like, I'm just going to go ahead and add them to the invite. They can come, you can have them come if they want to come. If not, that's okay too. But that way, at least they're aware of what's happening, and that seems to get a good response.
Okay. All right, you guys, I got to leave on time. I'm sorry I had to push this meeting and the one next week, but I've got this bunch of car guys, believe it or not, coming in all at once, and so I had to do it. So thanks for showing up.
You're moving metal, dude?
Huh?
You're helping move metal?
Metal? Oh, is that what you call it, moving metal?
Selling cars?
It's interesting.
Yeah, you're selling cars?
I mean, I'm not. They're trying to.
Just
All right,
bring the
guys.
manager along.
Hey, Rob, will you hit me with the recording so I can get this to a few people who weren't here?
Yep.
All right. Peace, y'all. See ya.
All right. See ya.
See you guys.
Do you know that we're sending anything out FedEx?
Express.
No, it was not the library. Are they doing Excel? It might be. Oh, Jared, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they don't always get first floor and type floor into the people. So,